Hi again and welcome to my channel, and today we're going to talk about some of the secrets of happiness.
Greg and Jane Hamilton Parker are the world's most psychic couple. Can they speak to the dead and bring messages of hope in these troubled times? Join them for an evening of mystical talks, world predictions, and spirit messages.
Happiness. It's one of those things everybody seems to be seeking in life, and I thought I might talk a bit around some of the ideas of happiness, particularly from the viewpoint of my perspective, because as you know, I'm a psychic medium, so I talk to an awful lot of people about how they can find happiness in their life, and we give a lot of guidance and help, obviously with people that come not just for mediumship to find out about life after death, but also people who require help trying to sort of find their way, you know. So happiness is obviously a thing that is a topic that is foremost in most people's thoughts, because when they come to see a psychic, often, not always, but often they feel unhappy about something, or perplexed or worried. So this complex thing of happiness, I want to share a few thoughts with you, and I don't say I've got all the answers here, but I think there's a few things that I've been contemplating. I'm actually writing a book at the moment about happiness, which I'll probably tell you about later on, not in this video but sometime later in other videos, but it obviously gets one thinking about what it is. So first of all, one of the things I think people make a big mistake about in life is that they worry about the world out there, you know, and all the things that come are kind of like, they come unwanted, horrible things that come into your life that you get immediately tied into. Often the people that come with problems have problems with other people, you know, other people that are upsetting them and hurting them and saying the wrong thing, or undermining their confidence and destroying their lives in some ways. And I think one of the first things we have to understand about things is that often it's not the things out there that are at fault, but it's how we are reacting to it. You know, on a very superficial level, I think we make a lot of problems in our lives, you know, because of our reactions, our psychological reaction to situations around us, you know. And really what's happening is, you know, our mind is doing that. You know, our mind is getting involved with everything. And if we could just step back somehow, if we weren't so tied up in all the fury of the world, we'd probably find that actually we're not as disturbed by these things as you would think. We actually are quite peaceful inside, and that a large percentage of the problems that are in our lives are not really in ourselves, they're out there. But our reaction to it is creating the problem and creating the happiness. So one of the faults, I think, is that it's how we deal with happiness is one of the problems. Now, I also think I'm very interested in this idea of change, you know, that the world is in a constant state of change. You know, one day, you know, this moment, this video will be gone. Hundreds of years' time, people probably will know who I am. No, they won't. They won't know who I am. They won't probably know who you are. You know, our story has been told. Our life has passed by, and we as spirits are probably either reborn, or we're in the spirit world, or whatever happens to us next, whatever you understand happens next. Another story. But you know, everything is changing, everything is passing. Even this moment will pass. It's past. See, we just had it. I told you it would. And through all this, we kind of have this attachment to things. This is another thing I think creates a lot of unhappiness, because life is a constant flow of change. You know, everything is constantly changing. Some things change very fast. Some things take a long time to change. You know, throughout our life, you know, we have a body that takes a long time to gradually change, but change it does, from a child into an old fart like me. You know, we're changing all the time. Everything is constantly in a state of change, and we can't do anything about it. We have to roll with that. And I think embracing change is one of the great secrets to happiness. that we allow change to happen, and we accept that, things that we would love to have stayed the same, like I'd love for kids to remain kids for the rest of their lives and things like that, all those things are marvellous, but, it can't be. We have to accept the role of change and embrace it and enjoy that sometimes good things come out of what we thought were bad things. And actually, it's always good things emerging, because it's always like something new is emerging and unfolding all the time. So our life is a continual flowering in many ways. Because without change, there can't be time. Without time, all the things we love can't exist. So embracing the flow of time and going with the flow, which is something I've talked about in other videos, is very important to my understanding of what finding happiness is all about. I think you have to I think the word that I would add is acceptance. Because if we kind of have acceptance to the fact that life is going to change, that sometimes things are going to be bad and sometimes things are going to be good, but they're all changing, Often you can be in a really horrible situation, but know that ultimately it passes. Look at all this we've had with COVID between us all, it will pass, and new times will come and happy times will come, and they will pass too, but we can't cling onto any of it, because it's the flow that makes things work for us. As soon as we accept it as it is, I think we found another key to happiness, which is freedom. Right? And the understanding that we can't put judgments on the world and think it should be like this, or my life should be like that person's life, and you've got a good life and I've got a rotten life. All that sort of mentality is creating a great deal of stress and unhappiness. We accept it. We're grateful. We do, like we say, count your blessings, We don't want to put judgments and labels on the world and tell it what it should be and get upset because it's not what we expect it to be. It's all a creation, actually, of our own karma, our own making, that we've made anyway in life. So, we can't moan at anybody except ourselves, because we actually create it all. But that's another story. But anyway, one of the things through this is to accept it as it is, and to accept a sense of freedom, because a lot of people don't even have the courage to be free. This is one of the things, another thing that I think creates a great deal of unhappiness in people's lives. You live by you're not prepared to be free. You want to live by other people's rules. You want to live by what other people think you are, or tell you are, or tell you what you can do or can't do. If you've got the courage, you can then accept and live by your true nature, not somebody else's nature. And that's one of the reasons I think you can find happiness. For example, don't give a damn what anyone else thinks about you. Why should you worry a hoot about what other people think? Here I am on a public platform, and lots of people probably look at me and think, oh, he's a great guy. And a lot of people think, what a bloody idiot, And who cares either way? You are what you are. So I think having this freedom brings happiness, to live by your true nature, to live in the flow of acceptance of the world, and have the courage to be who you are, faults and all, because we're all here to change and develop and become new beings, and I think also another thing that's important too, because a lot of people become unhappy, I think, because they become lazy in many ways. They become inert. They stop trying, and sometimes we have to put a lot of effort into the world, and sometimes things come anyway, and it's great, and it comes easy. But I think another key, what I would say in this great world of change, where everything is changing and we can't rely on anything, is that we have to also have a certain perseverance. We've got to keep moving with it. Just keep persevering. So when times get really tough, you just keep persevering. And when things get really great, you don't sit back and put your feet up and that's it. No, you continue persevering. Because I think this is another thing that gives energy to life, that gives more happiness to life, and helps us to become more comfortable with our life, So I talked a bit about, that we mustn't grasp onto anything. I mean, they say that life is like a bridge over a sea of troubles. And we must pass over it, not build upon it. This is the non-attachment idea. And so we pass through this life. We're just passing through. And I think we also then we can take it to another level too, because okay, we talk about happiness, and most people think about happiness as, you know, getting what you want and doing what you want and feeling happy with what you want and having lots of money and all the rest of it. That's not happiness, because we're looking for happiness in the wrong place there. We're looking for happiness outside ourselves, because that's a world of change. So there can also be a happiness that I think that exists in a way beyond change, although there's change there as well. You know, a lot of, no, first, before I say that, let me also say, also because a lot of people think, oh yeah, happiness will exist after death because I go to the spirit world, you know, because I'm a medium, so I'm talking from this standpoint. You know, and I think that's a little bit dangerous, but I notice that spiritualists often get very complacent, think, oh, I don't have to do anything in this world because it's all there in the next world for me. But the next world is also a world of change, you know, it's not permanent happiness, because it can't be. Time is different, the world will be a better place for you, it will be a more beautiful existence, but that's another story. But no, well, the happiness has got to be found here and now. In the spirit world, it's got to be found here and now. In fact, on the earth plane, we have more opportunity to find true happiness. Now, true happiness, the eternal happiness, is not outside of ourselves. We have to live inwardly, not outwardly. We must live from the inside out, not the outside in. And if we can do that, then nothing can disrupt us so much. You know, we're stable. We've become the rock of truth within ourselves. We have built our understanding on a truth that we know within ourselves, not what someone else is telling us or what the world is throwing at us. We're stable, you know, we're happy, even though, you know, our happiness might sometimes express itself, you know, effervescently, and other times it might be just as quiet, stable happiness, because we are at ease and at peace with ourselves. And this brings us to the next point, because happiness has to be found ultimately within. You can't find it chasing someone else and wishing I had this man or this woman in my life and whatever, you know, what people come for readings for, or wishing that I had this and I had that. All those things are great, but you must be at peace and at ease ultimately with yourself. That way you've got true freedom. And happiness ultimately is not the goal of existence. It's the good path. You know, I'd rather take a path of happiness towards the ultimate rather than the path of pain. Why not? Why can't we take a happy route? You know, so many religions have so many miserable sort of rules and regulations and people, you know, that all the religions are a bit like that. But all the spiritual leaders, when you look at them, are usually pretty sparkly sort of men and women. You know, they're people with a brightness and spark and an energy and a love, you know. You know, so, and humour and all that, you know. So the religions don't get there. But the spirit, if we look for spirituality, we look at the people, we look at the teachers, and we can see it in their eyes, you know, that happiness lies within, you know, not the rule makers, you know. And that happiness, that comes ultimately, like I say, happiness ultimately is about awakening. They talk about, and this is what happens as you come to the great awakening, you know. So what is this great awakening, you know? When you come to this point where you have what we would call self-realization, there is a sense of absolute bliss. Now, bliss is like happiness on steroids. It is the blissfulness. Sometimes in your meditations, maybe, if you meditate, you might sometimes get the full bliss, or you might just feel the edge of it, you know. And it's like I've described in other videos, sometimes a scene, something beautiful, might give you just a sense of the bliss that lies behind everything, you know, that sense of wondrous, unexplained good news that then leads to this unexplained feeling of, I feel joy forever, you know. This is the absolute bliss of existence. But even this kosher, as it were, of the bliss sheath, as they call it, that bliss is obviously, even that is not the end of the story. We go even beyond that into the absolute, and that is the ultimate happiness, because it goes beyond happiness and pain. It goes into the state that we can hardly even begin to describe. And I just will add one more thing, which interests me, because like I say, when I do readings for people and things like that, we often talk about their lives and what they do, and I will use I'll often use the I Ching as part of my guidance for people, and it talks really there, and it gives us all these hexagrams, which I find fascinating, because I think of all this as like being like spiritual weather. That in each of our lives, you know, we're seeking happiness, but we're doing it in a world of change. And in every changing situation, whatever the spiritual weather around us is like, based perhaps upon our karma, based perhaps upon events that are unfolding, the ricochet of things and thoughts we've had before, and maybe astrology as well, and our past lives, at every point in our life, we're going through kind of like a spiritual weather. Sometimes it's stormy and terrible, sometimes it's easy going. But if we can find in every circumstance, in every moment, that moment of, I called it before equilibrium, the central point, you know, that in every circumstance we can find a moment which is like the happiness that lies behind all things, the bliss that lies behind all existence, the great, endless, ineffable peace beyond understanding that lies in the background of all things, in every circumstance, in every change. So we think of our lives maybe as different weather coming through us, but we are just the same. The weather comes, but it goes. It comes and it goes. It's just like weather. All the things that are happening, all the stories that are unfolding that make up our life are just illusions, really. They're just like the weather coming and going. But we remain like the rock, you know. We remain focused, centered, in the center of the cyclone, away from all the hubbub of the world. And I think that is the sort of happiness that I want. A happiness that is unshakable. A happiness that is, it can be fun and it can be all the rest, but it's also a kind of a quietude of happiness, you know, an acceptance, a knowledge that there is a sense of presence of happiness behind the background of all things. A feeling, because a lot of people live with a sense of fear behind you all the time, you know, wake up with a little bit of a sense of fear there all the time, even unconsciously. But why can't we also have that sort of sense of pure happiness all the time in the background there, quietly? Because this is our true nature. This is the bliss I was talking about. Because in the very core of our being there lies this connection with the absolute, with the ultimate, with the Godhead, with the divine, with that absolute beauty of existence. It's all there behind our personality, behind our thoughts. It's the blue sky that the clouds fly across. That is our true nature. So all we have to do is accept everything as it is and be who we are. And when we do that, we realise that we are totally free and totally, endlessly happy. So I hope you enjoyed that. Anyway, also, I must tell you to follow this channel and you'll get other videos like this. And if you really do enjoy it, do think about becoming a patron too. And if you're here for the first time, put a comment. What's your thoughts about happiness? What do you think is the essence of happiness? Have I missed something? Have you got something new to say? What's made you most happy in life? I think it's a good thing sometimes even to write these things down, because it's another form of counting our blessings, isn't it? Anyway, thank you for joining us. See you soon. Bye for now. Check out our website for more stuff. You can book psychic readings with us and find out about our public events, or watch our fantastic movie called Mystic Journey to India. It's a mind-boggling adventure that's now showing on Amazon Prime. And if you want to learn more, you can find out about my books and courses. Check out Messages from the Universe that reveals the ancient secrets of existence, or read my book called Psychic School to discover and enhance your own psychic skills. Or how about What to Do When You're Dead, my book about the afterlife and what it's like. All this plus lots more, lots of new articles and videos, all on my fascinating website.